OK, quick, before the band get in, on with the story. The mysterious late-night call. So, who was it then? I asked the vicar. You are going to tell me, aren't you? Who was what then? He disapproved of my abuse of his beloved English language. The telephone call? I asked again. Oh yes, the mysterious telephone call. He smiled at me. It was Richard Branson. Richard Branson? I gasped. And he's driving down to meet with you at 2 o'clock in the morning. No, sorry. Richard Breamore. He spelled out the surname. I always get the two confused. Richard Breamore? Probably not a name you'd recognise. But then after all, punksters, how many of you would recognise the names of the managers of Robbie Williams, Michael Jackson, or the fallen Madonna with the big boobies? And they're big, powerful people. Trust me, in my pitiful world, this was a big deal. But isn't he the guy? I tried not to get excited. Isn't he the manager who created that band with those two girls? I made a pathetic attempt to hide the fact that I had a room full of their CDs, posters and blow-up memorabilia. Oh, you know, tits and arse. Under Rule 3, you'll remember, I reserve the right to invent names to protect my own sorry arse from being sued by, in this case, a fairly big, famous band. So guess what? This is the name I've just invented. Welcome to Punk's new R&B act, Tits and Arse. And does he want you to produce one of their records? I asked, trying to hide my excitement. It's not the sort of thing that you normally handle. And what exactly, pray tell, is the sort of thing that I normally handle? I trust you are not trying to pigeonhole me. I avoided the question completely. Well, does he? Well, does he what? Does he want you to produce them? I asked again. I very much doubt it, he said. If I did make a record for them, I doubt he would like the results, and he would no doubt try to stop it being released. Not unlike the record I made for Andy S. Have I told you that story? I found myself shaking my head. No. Why did I do that? I'd heard that story several times before. The vicar has that effect on you. I knew that he wanted to tell the story and wasn't strong enough to simply nod my head and tell him that I'd heard it before. What a limp dick, I hear you thinking. Is this a man or a mouse? I feel my manner shrinking even as I say this. Fascinating, I lied as he eventually finished his story and looked at me to see my reaction. It suddenly occurred to me that he knew I'd heard it before. Was he laughing at me, wondering how many times I'd be willing to sit through the same story before I finally mustered the courage to tell him that I'd heard it before? So, what was the call about then? I asked, putting such disturbing thoughts to the back of my mind. Just a social visit, he said unhelpfully. What, at 2 o'clock in the morning? And why should not two old enemies take a nightcap together? He was smiling. What, I didn't know that you knew him. There is much that you do not know, my fine fellow. You evidently did not know that I had produced a record for Andy S. Richard and his R&B management company bought out my infamous former manager Malvolio. He leant over and pretended to spit on the floor, who I believe you met in Amsterdam some 7 years ago when I handed him over for insurance fraud. Did I ever tell you that Malvolio and I shared a room at Cambridge? Oh, come on, I started. But you want to know about Breamore, and I'm afraid that I cannot satisfy your rampant curiosity, as I have absolutely no idea why he is so anxious to see me, unless to pay me my overdue publishing royalties. Apparently, something happened tonight when Billy G was on the television. That is all I know. All will no doubt be revealed at the right time. And with that, he got up and stretched himself out on the studio floor to meditate. You'll get used to the vicar's various obsessions, such as the fact that he never wastes time. I, of course, could waste time for England, playing pocket billiards, staring at the porn magazines on the top shelves of the newsagents, while pretending to look at the music magazines, watching other people who were also looking the same porn magazines while pretending to look at the same music magazines, and any number of mediocre witticisms that I can't think of right now. But even I couldn't manage the next hour or so without some support. Fortunately, Siobhan offered the perfect, rounded, curvaceous solution. And when the studio door opened and in walked Mr. Richard Breamore, he disturbed nothing less than the last throes of my mad, passionate, fucktacular lovemaking with such a solution. A bottle of brandy. Is David here? He asked, with a look that reduced me instantly to the role of a talking doormat. I pointed over my shoulder to the space behind the effects rack where the vicar was stretched out. He rose from behind them, almost like a magician appearing out of thin air. Richard the Bee, it has been a long while. A pity it could not have been a little bit longer. I told Punk that you were coming for a nightcap. He would seem to have started without you. I think he has designs on both that expensive brandy bottle and also the adorable, divine, sensual, but even more expensive form of Siobhan. Between you and me, I think that he has only been 50% successful. I don't have time, David. Did you see the National Lottery tonight? Breamore was all business. No, I cannot say that I find the lottery very enthralling. Not much chance of winning, you see, even with God on my side. Small problem of not buying a ticket. And I do not entirely approve of that presenter, Anthea, whoever. Call me old-fashioned, but I do feel that celebrities should set a moral example. You were always high on your morality and low on wealth, he bragged. And I'm afraid that you're out of date. Anthea Turner resigned long ago. But let's skip the discussion on the poor man's stock exchange. Billy G performed live on the show tonight. Billy G, for those who don't have my extensive background knowledge, had recently left Tits and Ass to pursue a solo career. Billy G? The vicar raised his eyebrows. It surprises me that she would appear on the lottery. Is she not the self-same lady who has been filling the tabloids with campaigns to bring back live music and to ban lip-syncing on television? A most worthy cause. Yes, Breamore nodded wearily. And is not the National Lottery mimed? The vicar made it sound like a mock swear word. Yes, Breamore continued patiently. This slot became free at the last minute, and I persuaded her that it was critical to her solo career that she should appear on it. It's primetime TV, millions of viewers. So, you gave her millions of reasons to swallow her scruples, and she did. Always the philosopher. I must get on. I need to get back to London shortly. I have a video of the show here. Have you a player somewhere? We watched it in the vicar's room. What could have troubled Breamore so much as to bring him to Real Worlds at 2 o'clock in the morning? The performance was bound to be note perfect as she was just miming on top of a CD. The camera angles chopped and changed and swirled around in what seemed to be a pretty standard British broad-corp incastration sort of way. Made her look pretty lickalicious. I wouldn't mind a chance to work on her if you know what I mean. Great song, great performance. Until it all went wrong. That boy's not cool. He's got ears the size of deer face, broken nose and a twisted face, with a voice that... Spectacular, Alex commented. In your 20s, nothing's spectacular. Babies can be perfect. Teenagers can be happy. After that, it's all downhill. I could see that we were in for a happy day. Sorry about this. French bloody food.